Warning. The following podcast contains politics, leftist politics, the whole truth, justice, American way thing. We live in a time where one has to post this. Progress is a dirty word, such as science and reason. My superheroes would weep. This podcast contains naughty language as well. New Birds of Prey trailer, or the first trailer coming up. Well, shit. I already have tons of stuff to cover. I guess we'll have to look at that some other time, because this episode, oh man, let's just say it gets really fun. All right. Welcome to another episode of DC Domingo, number 51. We have a lovely show for you today. It's been a long-ass week for me, a lot of hard work, and, you know, this is my Friday. I kind of postponed the podcast already once, but I don't want to do it again, you know. There's a lot of stuff to cover. We have to talk about Jason Momoa seeing the Snyder Cut, Swamp Thing, and Krypton, both shows canceled. Gonna review the Shzam documentary on the DC Universe app, the Hush cartoon, and the combo of Death and Return of Superman, also the cartoon. We're going to talk about the Flash director. We're going to talk about the Spiderman custody battle, and whoa, Disney Plus versus everybody else, and the streaming wars have begun. And then last but not least, the big one, the Joker early buzz and trailer number 3. But we do have a shit ton of trash to take out. So if you are gonna be in for quite a bit of a show, probably an hour long, I won't lie to you, it'll be kind of long. So sit back, relax, and this is number 51. All right, this is the first segment of the show. It's called Taking Out the Trash. We're going to start with something funny. Well, I think it's fucking funny. Disney announced plans for a Blade reboot. And, oh man, this is a gem. Wesley Snipes official on Twitter had this to say. Vampire breaking news, in quotes. Message from Daywalker. Hey MCU, haven't we been down this road before? Ah yeah, some motherfuckers are always trying to ice skate uphill. And yeah, that's fucking right. Wesley Snipes is right to be pissed off for them not casting Blade. But if you can, you know, the apologists will say that Blade belongs to New Line Cinema, this particular incarnation of Blade, but this particular incarnation of Blade is fucking rated R, and it's fucking bloody as hell, and it's fucking awesome. They're gonna neuter Blade with like fucking sparkling vampires when they die, which they did do in this trilogy, but they had a shit ton of blood, nudity, and really fucked up shit that will not fit in the MCU whatsoever. So that's the first one. It gets even better. The other part of taking out the trash, oh fucking hell. In my last podcast, I showed you how cool the Hong Kong protests were when somebody showed a slogan, poster with V for Vendetta, which is pretty fucking awesome. You know, DC's always been revolutionary, and particularly V for Vendetta has taken off in all fucking demonstrations that I can remember. Well, somebody took the opposite approach. The actress who is playing the lead in Disney's Mulan seemed to really fucking, support the cops, which is, that's okay. We have cops here in our local city. They're fucking awesome. However, there comes a time when you have to see what kind of cops they are. Okay, so she commented by saying, I support the Hong Kong police. You can all attack me now. What a shame for Hong Kong. And that's fucked up because I don't know if you've been paying fucking attention, but police usually are the ones with batons and fucking tear gas and fucking shields. The opposition, the protests, have fucking umbrellas and maybe lights and maybe gas grenades that they throw back at the police. Lately, there was an excursion of mysterious people that just went and beat the shit out of the protesters with sticks, kind of reminiscent of what the movie Roma showed you not that long ago, where the state just trained a bunch of people to fuck shit up, and that's kind of shameful. So what resulted is in the boycott Mulan hashtag, and if you go on Twitter, keyboard fighter Sammy shared this, and if you follow that hashtag boycott Mulan, there's a lot of cool fucking artwork that I am really impressed with. But yeah, looks like Disney has some fucked up shit in their hand, and if you want to get political, get on the right side of people. If you don't want to fucking take a side, just be like, hey, Hong Kong, let's keep it peaceful. Or you can be like, Hong Kong, prayers or thoughts and prayers with you, and shit like that. But if you're gonna take a stance, you're gonna be shit on. For instance, when every fucking protest goes somewhat violent, everybody on the left goes, hey guys, we need to chillax and stuff. And people on the right go, ha ha ha, you fuckers are always disturbing the peace, shit like that. So if you're going to take a side, take a side, but be cautious that people will talk back at you. For instance, I've been in so many fucking protests, I can't even remember. But we went to the San Francisco International Airport when there was a Muslim ban. We were fucking friendly. We didn't talk shit at the cops. We didn't yell obscenities. And there was somebody who was mean to one of the protesters, and everybody took out their camera and started recording them, and we all shared our information in case that was going to go to court, shit like that. We support each other. We have extra batteries, water, and we asked the cops hey, where the fuck do you want us? So I don't know. I think the Disney Mulan lady, I don't think she's ever been in a fucking protest, and if she wanted to support the cops, she should have fucking raised money instead of making them the target of a fucking large boycott and is throwing gasoline to the fire. That's what I'm saying. And yeah, if you're gonna boycott Disney over this, go fucking for it. Yeah, people have given shit to DC Comics and DC for less. So yeah, if you're woke enough, come on, motherfuckers, show your fucking balls and boycott Mulan. But they're not gonna do it. All right, speaking of showing something, there is a really cool report by The Hollywood Reporter, and it kind of tells us what we've been kind of seeing after Disney keeps getting hungrier and hungrier and hungrier. A whistleblower accuses Disney of overstating revenue, and this was not just bullshit from Yellow Press or whatever the fuck, trash websites. No. It was from a Market Watch report, which you can find if you want to. I'm going to be linking all these screen caps on this segment. So if you look at the description below my video, my podcast, you will see those clearly marked if you want to read more about it. But what it basically says is that they've been inflating figures left and right. For instance, and then, they went to the whistleblowing agency, this particular individual named Cuba. And there are so many instances where we have pointed this shit out, where, for instance, Rotten Tomatoes may have exaggerated some, selective ratings or deleted ratings that were not favorable. All those empty theaters in Captain Marvel, or how Star Wars Galaxy somehow is fucking empty, and people are like, oh yeah, it didn't flop, or shit like that. You know what I mean. So this is pretty telling, because we finally have someone that went to the government with evidence about these shady fucking business dealings, and we should be keeping an eye out on this story furthermore, because if it is true, they're inflating their own value, and that is against the law, because you're making stock options false stock options. You know, you're basically saying that your company's worth more than it is when it isn't. So fuck that shit. More scummy shit. Oh yeah. So there's a really wonderful company for books called the Folio Society. They specialize in really expensive versions of classics you love, and they were doing a compilation of early Marvel comics. And the Pulitzer Prize winning writer Art Spiegelman, who created the graphic novels Mouse, depicting, you know, chronicles of the Holocaust, with the Holocaust survivors as mice, and the Nazi as, you know, cats. So, you know, who better to talk about all these, you know, a lot of professionals who were speaking out against fascism in the early days of Marvel Comics. You know, there's the villain called the Red Skull that was created actually to fight such fascism. And, you know, Art Spiegelman concluded with saying that there was a brand new Red Skull, and he was Orange Skull, a reference to Donald Trump. Now, the Folio Society didn't have any fucking problem with this, but Marvel did. They wanted to, according to sources, they wanted to not go political, even though there's a cover of Captain America punching Hitler. I'm pretty sure that's fucking political, unless, you know, somehow that doesn't count. Anyways, so Art Spiegelman said, fuck that. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm not going to censor myself. And he posted his entire introduction to this compilation of books in The Guardian. So go ahead and check it out. I will, you know, put the link below in the description. It's not really censorship, but it kind of shows you that, like, okay, so Stan Lee and, you know, a lot of great artists over there in Marvel, you know, people have gone over to fight Nazis in the real life. They spoke against Nazis in the books, and all of a sudden, Marvel is like, yeah, you know, we don't want to get too political. I'm like, well, if this particular precedent has kind of been soft on white supremacy, don't you think it should be kind of noted? It's a clusterfuck. But they're fucking cowards. You know, fucking Marvel wants to say, oh yeah, we are against fascism. Oh wow, our CEO supports some shady shit. Mum's the word. Yeah, keep giving them your money, woke Twitter. Marvel CEO is kind of a fucking... never mind. Anyways, moving on. TMC reported this story. Stanley's daughter sides with Sony over the Spiderman split. And boy, you can predict what was going to happen. You know, incoming message. Yeah, all the fucking MCU stans and fucking fanatics were talking shit about her. You know, they're like, they literally put him in every single movie they made. What more do you want? I don't know. She said that nobody fucking called her when her dad died. That's a pretty big fucking deal. You know, if I had friends who were like, hey, by the way, you know, we're not going to call you because, you know, when your parent died, I would have been like, well, okay, well, I'm fucking ghosting you. You know, which is pretty fucked up, you know, because, like, you have like the picture of Brie Larson wearing glasses, like, I'm so sad about Stan Lee. I'm like, did you fucking call the family? No. Did you get your agent to call the family? No. It's like, what the fuck? So it's only more for like Instagram bullshit. Like, oh, I care about Stan Lee. No, you didn't. You didn't even call the family, which is fucked up. And yeah, a lot of people, were kind of going, reporting this. And it was a big fucking deal. It wasn't just like, oh, just TMC. No, MovieWeb, IndieWire, Yahoo. It was everywhere. So this was really big news. It wasn't just like some dark, shady corner of the interweb, and everybody was fucking mean to her online. I mean, big shout out to Sim Miller, who reposted this video where like Stanley sets the record straight on his daughter, with his daughter, saying, she's not abusing me. This is bullshit. You people have nothing better to do, and I'm going to link you guys to that particular video because I don't think any senior citizen who is being abused and taken advantage of would be this sound of mind talking to the press about not being abused. You can tell that this is an honest to heart confession, and the fact that Stan had to do that, oh man, it kind of speaks volumes of how he's been treated by the corporations that these fucking fans seem to say they love above anything else, above including Stan Lee. So fuck that shit. All right. Another beautiful piece of trash, unfortunately. With the release of the Joker trailer, there's been a lot of dumb fucks who have a really dumb fuck take on the Joker. Apparently, you can't make a movie about an evil white guy going, to the dark side. I mean, I guess we have to say goodbye to the Godfather trilogy. I mean, what is the Godfather if not like somebody going to the dark side? You can say the same shit about Citizen Kane. It's like, what the fuck is wrong with these people? I mean, by their standards, even Lawrence of Arabia was like, oh, fuck that guy, Even Anakin Skywalker is like, oh, why make him? He's white and he's going to betray the Jedi. It's like, well, what the fuck is wrong with you? But anyways, the odd part is that you have these idiots who are talking about, saying something about like, white man becomes a mass murderer, or like white dudes treated like shit. And I'm sorry, but if Joaquin Phoenix had some kind of a tan and looked what you fuckers think Puerto Ricans should look like, you guys wouldn't be saying shit. And it kind of shows how racist all these motherfuckers are, because they assume that, well, Joaquin Phoenix looks pale, so he must be white. Well, he's actually Puerto Rican, and he was born in Puerto Rico. And if people go, well, that doesn't make you Latino, that doesn't make you Hispanic, I'm like, I don't know, dude. I'm one. Fuck you. That's the problem with the U.S. They're always, like, telling other cultures what they are and what they aren't. If we fucking say Joaquin Phoenix es un Latino, you can fuck yourself. So all these fucking bullshit people are fucking racist for that reason, right? Alan Silverman, fucking racist. Hillary Agro, racist. Luis Virtel, fucking racist. Daniel Ryan, racist. Alison Stolpa, racist. Tree, racist. Tara, racist. Sean Kent, racist. The Volatile Mermaid, fucking racist. And it gets better. There's more. Yasir Lester, racist. David Low Punch, Nazis, you're a bigot and racist. Amy Gray, racist. Willow, racist. Slade, racist. Amy Gray, again, racist. A.N. Denver's, racist. The Cold trademark, racist. The Renaissance of Bad Ideas, racist. And so forth and so forth and so forth and so forth. So, yeah, these motherfuckers have the wrong fucking take. And I think if Joaquin Phoenix wins an Oscar, he should give his speech in Spanish and be like, ustedes son unos pinches racistas who hated me Fuck you. Hell yeah. These wokes are so fucking dumb. They didn't even realize when they're making fun on picking on a fucking Puerto Rican. Fuck. Moving on. The D23 Expo. Is Disney's intellectual property squeezing the fuck out of our theme parks? According to the LA Times, yes. And the headline did not include the word fuck. But I fucking said it. Because fucking why not? So yeah, it's been a fucking great week. Yeah, they're fucking right. I will include also the link to this article by the New York Times. And they have a fucking point. I knew so many fucking people who were pissed off when the Tower of Terror, a fucking Disneyland classic ride, was turned into Guardians of the Galaxy fucking tower with like some fucking duct tape and like paint. And you're like, what the fuck? You know? And that's the fucking problem. They're turning their theme parks into brand parks. That's a fucking problem. You know, you had something wonderful like it's a, you know, the Science Sphere Epcot. You had the amazing Pirates of the Caribbean, which gave you a fucking movie franchise. You have Space Mountain. You know, you have an amazing array of things that were fucking popular, attractions for fucking people to go. You turn an entire section of Disneyland into fucking California. That's fucking great. Who does that? Fucking Vegas, right? That's fucking gangster. That's fucking awesome. That's what, like, people want to go and check out your shit. You know, people don't want to go and be like, oh, I'm walking around Pixar Town. Fuck, because I don't have Pixar shit at home enough. I have to go. It's like you're basically turning your fucking theme parks into a giant fucking store. You know? It's like Legoland. Buy more Legos. It's like, well, what else does Legoland offer? You know? Oh, right. Oh, cool. You know, and that's what they're doing. They're like neutering all the rights and the spectacle and all the fun shit. And they're just focusing on brands. Like, buy our shit, look our shit, consume more shit. It's fucking depressing. You know? So yeah, it's a great article and just another example of how fucking shitty Disney's going, dude. Anyways, what else are we gonna talk about today? Well, we have something before we close, and I think it's really important to talk about. Superman. For some fucking reason, somebody keeps saying that Man of Steel and Batman vs. Superman is not how they want their fucking hero to be. They want someone who is funny, dumb, and bumbling, and oh my god, honest to goodness. You know, it's like, okay, fuck you. You basically want a Boy Scout fleeing Syria, making jokes, going, gee, golly, this is a great time. We're getting some exercise, getting out of the city. Oh my god, this is amazing. Isn't it great, folks? Ooh, there's a cat attacking his tree. I'm gonna go and rescue it. There's so much horror around me, but if we just hope and pray, or everything is gonna be fucking okay. Fuck you. You know, that kind of character doesn't fucking fit. We already have one fucking idiot who acts like oblivious to fucking reality, and that's Trump. Why the fuck would you want Superman to be like, I'm just gonna be a fucking moron and ignore reality for your fucking pleasure? I'm gonna pleasure you by ignoring reality and being a fucking joke to myself. Didn't you motherfuckers already saw, like, What's So Funny About Truth and Justice in the American Way? Like, that comic book with the, you know, where they show a fucking cartoon version of him, and he's like, the fuck? Is that how they see me? Yeah. You want that fucking version of Superman? Well, fuck you. And guess what? Christopher Reeve fucking says it. And I'm gonna read you this fucking quote because I'm gonna bring it up all the fucking time. Okay, I'm gonna read it. It's very hard for me to be silly about Superman, because I've seen firsthand how he actually transforms people's lives. I have seen children dying of brain tumors who wanted as their last request to talk to me, and have gone to their graves with a peace brought on by knowing that their belief in this kind of character is intact. I have seen that Superman really matters. It's not Superman, the tongue-in-cheek cartoon character, they're connecting with. They're connecting with something very basic. The ability to overcome obstacles, the ability to persevere, the ability to understand difficulty, and to turn your back on it. So there you go. That's his quote. It is very hard for me to be silly about Superman. Fuck yeah. And guess what? Superman 4 was his idea about taking all the nukes out of the world. That's a very fucking ballsy idea. If executed correctly, that would have been an amazing fucking movie. But yeah, anyways, that's taking out the trash. We haven't even gotten to the good stuff, folks. This is great. Alright, so we're going to start off the episode, the main part of the episode, with something really fucking awesome. Jason Momoa over here, defending Hawaii. He really kind of takes this stuff seriously. Kind of what we were talking about Christopher Reeves not wanting to just be the silly comic book character. Jason Momoa really takes the role of Aquaman seriously. Here we have him next with Ezra Miller, the Flash. And they're both, joining the protest over there in Hawaii. Now, some websites were reporting that, Jason Momoa won't film Aquaman 2 because he's protesting. And I don't know about that. He already left Hawaii. He even got stuck in an elevator. And he's doing other stuff with his career. He's got a lot of projects going. So I don't know where that clickbait article started. But I'm sure there is more to that story that we're not going to cover because rumors are not fun. I mean, one of the wonderful things about Jason Momoa embracing his Hawaiian heritage is that he even inspired The Rock to feature more of his Hawaiian heritage in Hobbs and Shaw in the last movie. I don't know if you guys have seen it. It's fun action. Definitely check it out. But, Jason Momoa is inspiring a lot of people. And by him joining this protest, it's fucking great. And one of the coolest things about what I was talking about, the Mulan actress, signing with the cops. Here, Momoa is even talking about opening the dialogue. Even The Rock, who is conservative, was like, "Hey, we need to listen, to the dialogue. We need to open the dialogue because neither of these two actors are saying fuck the cops or fuck science who wants to build this observatory here." They're basically just saying, hey, I'm going to show up and I'm going to bring attention to this issue just by simply existing, which is very human to do. So I've been on protests and I have never been disrespectful to the cops. We've always asked them, okay, where do you want us to go? How do you want us to behave? Shit like that. So I think that, opening a dialogue is really important. The other cool part is that he managed to score a really expensive camera for Zack Snyder. He surprised Zack Snyder and said, hey, if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have a career. Yeah, Khal Drogo was cool, but Aquaman really gave me more opportunities, broke me up out of that typecast. It was fucking awesome. And he saw the Snyder cut. It's sick. So that's fucking awesome, dude. Go ahead and check out the whole video on Jason Momoa's Instagram. It's fucking beautiful. I think the camera is like 14,000 or 15,000, but I don't think it was released. And somehow Jason talked to the maker of this camera and was like, please, can I have one? And they're like, hell yeah, you're awesome. So here you go. So that's our, positive stuff for our first topic of the podcast. All right, so this is my very brief and sad quick review of Swamp Thing. I don't know what the fuck was with me, but I wasn't getting into the show for the first 2 episodes. I was like, I don't know. I think that I reserve viewing these kind of like dark shows like Penny Dreadful for Halloween. I kind of get into this like, October mode where I'm just like, fuck yeah, show me dark and gritty. I have like a whole marathon of scary shit in the month of October leading up to Halloween, just because that's how I roll. But I give it another shot, and what I can tell you is that there are some really great elements to that show. The particular episode that I watched and I was like, wow, this is fucking great, was the pilot directed by this guy, and I think it's Lehman, and Greg Beeman, who is a veteran of X-Files and Smallville and a couple other shows. If you have a really good director, they really know what they're doing, and they kind of give you, this is what a good director for TV does to you. They give you great cinematography, great pacing, because they know how to build the scene. You know, if you have an amateur director, they'll just be like, okay, this is what it's in the script. This is how I'll fucking shoot it. Boom. They just shoot what's in the script. A good director will be like, okay, I'm going to create a mood. I'm going to create a scene. I'm going to have a shot of this, shot of that before we get to that dialogue. And I'm still going to manage to put everything into the time slot allowed me. And that's what great directors do. They don't really like cut anything out, but they somehow put their own stamp, their own tone, according to the show, into an episode. And that's what I think happened with this show. You had some filler episodes where like the cinematography just looked like dirty gray, instead of like the amazing visuals, dark, really beautiful black, jet set black against like the moonlight and that you see in the first pilot episode. You know, stuff like that. Also, what I missed is the pacing also that a great director does, because when Alec was human, I was kind of like, hey, you know, this guy's kind of cool. And you kind of warm up to those characters. You know, Arcane, on the other hand, I think she is struggling with so fucking much that her character doesn't shine through as a personality. I see traits, like, okay, I know that she's a doctor, I know that she's this, I know that she's that, but I don't see character neither in her or Alec. And that's kind of sad, because maybe they would have explored that in later episodes. But if you compare it to Titans, you kind of know what you're getting with Titans. You know, even with the dialogue of like, you know, fuck Batman. It's like, you're like, okay, this is what we're doing. Great. So you can kind of tell what character you're getting by the dialogue. And you know, that's not present in Swamp Thing. So, do I like the show? I do. I do believe that it does deserve a second, third series. I kind of want more Blue Devil, to be quite honest. I think they should have started it with that, so that before we see Swamp Thing in transformation, we had another entity. I wouldn't have minded if there was like overlap with Raven, like where Raven is like having a nightmare and she sees Blue Devil, and that's how Swamp Thing begins. Because if you recall back to Titans, you saw Doom Patrol in there as a little cameo, and that's would have been a nice thing to keep the shows kind of like this tied up. I mean, John Constantine cameo would have been a much better choice in my opinion. You know, something. And unfortunately, I don't know what happened to the show. I don't know if it was like the tax code that Georgia disputes, or Atlanta, or whatever, you know, it was filmed, or whoever entity was like saying, you know, no, the tax rumor is not right. I just kind of want a couple of the characters to shine through. They need to speak a little bit more loudly, because everybody talks like this. And I have to pump up my fucking volume on TV. And then, you know, when some action happens, it's just like, it's annoying instead of shocking, the difference in volume. So you need to invest in your shows, DC, a little bit more. You need to do better sound mixing. Make sure that all your directors are stepping up to the game. The cinematographers do it all constantly, and they have a color balance and a light balance, so that the shows don't look washed out, or some of the contrast looks better than other. Hopefully they'll tweak that on the DVD and Blu-ray release for the show. Who knows? I think I'm actually going to buy it physically because I want to fucking support this show. It's not my cup of tea. Like I said before, it's not like, ooh, this is my main, jam. I'm like, nah. I don't want to unfairly compare it to Penny Dreadful, or Mindhunter right now on Netflix is so fucking good. But yeah, it's like, I like it. It could have gone somewhere really amazing. So I am going to support it when it comes on Blu-ray. I just hope they fixed a couple of those things. And yeah, I give it a nice B. It's nice. It's a nice B. Okay, Krypton. What happened? I don't know what was the reason for Krypton being canceled, because season 1 was pretty fucking awesome. My issue that I had with something that you heard right now about the directors not stepping up to the plate, all the cinematography on Krypton season 1 was fucking top notch. There was no discrepancy with the light balance. All the actors knew their character. You could hear dialogue and be like, okay, I know what this character is, instead of just traits, right? But with a weird ending of season 1, you were kind of put into a corner of time travel or rewriting reality, and that kind of trope is already kind of tiring with Flash, CW Flash, but also with like fucking Endgame and their bullshit time travel excuse, because that kind of kills all of the tension that you had prior. So if you're like, well, we're gonna time travel or alternate reality, or you kind of fuck yourself over, and so each thing becomes inconsequential, kind of like what Owlman was saying in Infinite Earths. It's like, if every action is meaningless, the only possible action of any meaning is destruction. It's like, you're gonna get all fucking nihilistic about life, therefore you get nihilistic about the show, and you're like, fuck it, I don't care. It's like, ooh, Brainiac is dead. Is he though? There's Lobo. Oh, he's dead. Well, we're not gonna see him in the show because they're planning a spin-off. Okay, well, why should I care about this? Or like Lita, oh yeah, she gets her throat cut off in episode 3 or 4, and all of a sudden she gets revived in episode 7 or 8, and you're just like, why should we care if you're just gonna not stick with things that are happening? It's, I think that was one of the main issues with me. It's like, the cinematography is top notch, the acting is top notch, the visuals are, the CGI, really good stuff. I don't think anybody got angry with how they, didn't do Doomsday justice as they were angry with Zack Snyder. But, they kind of reimagined Doomsday from basically from the comic standpoint, to just like, oh, he was actually a soldier, he was a hero, and then he just volunteered for this test subject, and that's not the comic book origin. But I don't see anybody on Twitter getting too worked up about it, and that's when I knew shit was in trouble. Because if you don't care about comic accuracy as much in a show, to like a, Batman versus Superman, people either don't care or they're not watching. And when that happens, you create lethargic people, and that kind of drives ratings down. So if you're going to do something in the show, stick with it. If you're going to kill Agent Coulson in the Avengers, fucking stick with it. Don't revive him on Agents or Shields with like some fucking convoluted bullshit. And I think that's what the problem with a lot of TV shows are. They're like, oh shit, we need filler, we need shit to happen, we need this, and that. And like, well, you need to focus. You can't rush into development. Think about your story. You can have longer scenes of substance instead of like, this happens, commercial. Learn from, Breaking Bad. Breaking Bad, there were some fucking episodes where, like, they're taking forever with one fucking scene. That's okay. It builds character. It builds mood. It is fucking amazing. My favorite parts in Krypton were when characters met again with each other and they just had such a fun chemistry and connection. And I'm like, okay, build that out. Again, I would give Krypton a B, just because this season the writing was just kind of like, okay, I don't know what story you're trying to tell, but you need to stick with something. You can't just be like, oh look, there's a baby. Oh, the baby's gone. Or like, oh look, there's Doomsday. Oh, he gets tased and put into a coma. Like, you need to have consequences. All right. And the consequences, sadly, is that it was canceled. Again, I give this a B. Kind of disappointing, but I may have to pick up both seasons on Blu-ray and DVD. I'm sorry. I gotta support my stuff, man. Alrighty, so one cool, fun thing that you can check out, if you haven't already, I'm not quite sure if it's in the Shzam Blu-ray, just because I wanted to get the Super Edition metal Blu-ray, but that shit is expensive as fuck, so I might have to hold on to that. It's a documentary about Shzam, the whole character, and some people have said that they wish there was less stuff about the movie and more about each individual era, but with 50 minutes, this doc is pretty fucking comprehensible. So anybody who can't find it comprehending, it's like, come on. If you just want a Shazam based on the Golden Age comics, this doc is not for you, because it talks about newer iterations of Captain Marvel and things like that. So definitely check it out if you have a DC Universe app. It is fucking cool. I was really enjoying all the interviews with Chip Kidd and who else is they interviewed? They interviewed the other guy who is, I think Chip Kidd is my favorite one though. If you can recall how Superman was the big breakthrough character for comics, and how basically they took the creator of Fawcett Comics to court simply because the similarities were too big. The main problem that Fawcett got into was the fact that there was some kind of correspondence between the writer and the artist, who were kind of like, hey, you see this Superman comic? I want that. You see this Superman cover? I want that. There were so many references to Superman as the default avatar for back then Captain Marvel, that the court was like, hey, we have this evidence. Yeah, we kind of have to side with DC. So even though it was kind of, like, sure, every superhero can be attributed to Superman, in this particular instance, there was enough evidence where the court was like, dude, you guys were talking about this shit, like, trying to rip it off. So they sided with DC, and that's where the meat and potatoes of this documentary kind of, takes a viewer into, like, why the name change of Captain Marvel to Shazam. They kind of brushed very briefly about why Marvel chose to have a Captain Marvel, because they don't want to piss off anybody. But, they kind of let you know that, okay, where were the original ones? It was basically the first kid as a superhero. I know that people have, like, amnesia, and they think that Spiderman's, like, the first kid or teenager to hold, the title of a superhero, but it's actually Shazam. So that kind of brought it back, be like, hey, we were in the right to have this cool character. The other interesting thing is the description and differences between, the Shazam family of now versus what it was back then. I love the beautiful trivia, whereas Elvis really, really loved Captain Marvel comics, especially Captain Marvel Jr., who was a little bit more upbeat, is a little bit more showy, and Elvis based his cape and his whole outfit based on Captain Marvel Jr.'s cape designs. How fucking cool is that? So yeah, that's a little bit of trivia from the documentary, and also talks about the different incarnations after Crisis on Infinite Earths. Crisis 85. I'm just going to call it Crisis 85. So many crises. After Crisis 85, DC Comics were able to introduce, Shazam back into the continuity. And they kind of go over some of the darker reiterations. I find them all really amazing in their own way. As much as I like the New 52 version, I think that you can do more with a character. It's a character that has been explored, but it hasn't been like, oh, this is how you were supposed to do it. It needs to be, dumb and silly. It's like, not necessarily. Because for me, the coolest appeal of this character is seeing how this powerful being is utilized in different stages of life. For instance, like, if you were like a kid, who becomes a hero, you're going to buy candy and shit like that, of course. But it is the actions of later in life that are going to be really fucking meat and potatoes of this character. Like, for instance, if you need to go out on a date, it's like, and you have no money, well, you can become this superhero character and steal your money from the ATM. But to, kind of show your girlfriend a night on the town, shoot, you do it, shit like that. Or to pay bills, to pay college. Somebody, like, let's say that Billy Batson has a girlfriend. She is ill and she needs to pay like $2 million in hospital bills. It's like, shoot, you go out in there as, Shazam and steal money to pay for her bills. I mean, this is some of the coolest shit that you can do with a character. Like, what if you take Captain Marvel or Shazam to where he's 60 years old and he's like fucking, stricken with a disease or something. He could just be Captain, Marvel or Shazam 24/7 and not deal with his old self. I mean, how cool of a concept would that be? So this is one of the things that gets me excited about comics, the possibilities of finding these wonderful stories and opportunities to do more cool stuff like this, which is why I like this documentary. It's something light and fun that you can enjoy, but it's kind of, it pays homage to Shazam. Oh man, speaking of supporting stuff, Hush, the animated movie, woohoo! What a fucking treat that was, man. I think this is one of the good reasons why I like the DC Universe app. To buy the 4K disc was like $30. I was like, fuck. I don't know if I want to throw down that much. And Blu-ray is like $20 now or something like that. But also like tax and shipping, right? Fuck, a lot of money. So I just kind of waited until the DC Universe app kind of had it. And boy, did I had fucking fun with it. I had a beer and it was awesome. As someone who is the owner of the entire comic book run of Jim Lee and Joseph Lev, I have all the 12 covers signed by Jim Lee, by the way. I'm a lucky motherfucker. Funny story. I was in line to meet Jim Lee and have those comics signed. And people were like handing him artwork and stuff. And I was like, I felt so fucking bad because I'm like, fuck, I should have given him something. So I grabbed like a shitty piece of paper and a shitty fucking pen or pencil, and I drew a shitty version of what my Batman would look like. And I was like, I felt kind of embarrassed because it looked like something a kid would do. I was using like my friend's bag to draw it, and I was like, fuck. It was embarrassing. Maybe I shouldn't have done that. But anyways, that was my Jim Lee story. Going back to the movie, what did I think about it? Major fucking spoilers if you haven't seen it. I fucking love the Riddler. Any story that has the Riddler as the bad guy has my fucking vote, and my attention. I'm just like, okay, let's see where the fuck you're going with this. And boy, it was awesome. One of the things that I really liked was the inclusion of the continuity within this animated universe right now. The inclusion of Damian and stuff like that, where Damian was giving shit to Batman about like, hey, you're dating this woman? We need to talk about this. And it was just fucking great. Catwoman was really fucking sassy in this movie, and the ending where she was like, you know what, fuck this bad guy, I'm gonna kill him. That was fucking ballsy. I was like, whoa. Again, it kind of reminds you of like, I don't feel as strongly on guns as you do from The Dark Knight Rises. She is really fucking awesome because she keeps Batman in check, and she's still kind of leaning more towards the bad girl persona, but is on the edge. That's what cats do. Like, just when you think the cat loves you, bam, throws a glass on the floor that you were drinking. You're like, what the fuck, cat? The other thing that I liked is the actors for the voices. I know that people here in the US have a soft spot for Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill because their childhood, but I'm sorry, there are other actors who can voice those characters. And the characters they chose for this is amazing. Fucking Nightwing is great. He's really he's fucking Nightwing. He really owns the character, and you can tell that there's a sudden kind of levity when Catwoman is brought into the Batcave. It's like, whoa, this is great. I don't have to bear all the burden of Bruce Wayne on my fucking shoulders anymore. That's fucking awesome. He needs to get laid. Fuck, The dynamic of Bruce Wayne and Selina shopping and waking up for breakfast is fucking great. I really liked how the villains were handled. Poison Ivy was handled great, and the twist of Hush manipulating everybody was great. I really enjoyed the animation. I have to give it a nice solid B plus maybe, because I fucking liked it. Now, if people want to ask what was different between the animated and the comic books, dude, we can do a whole fucking episode. I might do it. I don't know, but we'll see. So far, this is a B plus. All right, I don't know if many of you were listening. Several fucking episodes ago, I said that I was not going to purchase The Death of Superman and The Return of Superman until they put it together the way The Dark Knight Returns animated cartoons were released by Jay Oliva. Because I don't know, 90 minutes for something that is a heavy animated movie, not enough to care. 2 hours, fuck yeah. And 3, whew, it's fucking awesome. So, I guess, Warner Brothers listened to me and other fans, and they were like, fuck yeah, we're gonna release this in a combo pack. And I'm like, fuck yeah. So, even though both movies were available on the DC app, I just kind of waited until the right time was for me to watch it. I started watching the first part, and I was doing other shit, and I was not into it. Then one day I was like, man, I had a hard day at work. I don't feel like fucking playing video games, working out, or fucking being social. I'm going to sit down with after my meal, and I'm going to watch it straight up. It was fucking amazing. It was 3 solid hours because you really fucking care, the fact that you have Doomsday happen again on continuity against, the characters that you established prior. It's fucking awesome, You don't need to adapt it as the comics, You don't need Booster Gold or shit like that, showing up and being like, hey, I'm getting beat up, or Anyways, what did I think of it? Viewing it 3 hours back to back is the way to do it. It adds more gravitas. I was not happy with the voice actor of Lex Luthor until the second movie, and then I was like, okay, he's getting to be really fucking mean now. Fuck yeah. I was really happy with the explanation of who the Eradicator were. The clone Superboy. That was fun. I mean, he was flirting with either, I think it was Lois Lane, and that was like, whoa, the fuck. But yeah, the fact that the clone of Superman turned out to be part Lex Luthor, that shit was nice. I was like, and it was adapted really well for today's society. There was a lot of references to social media and shit like that, things that were not available back in the 90s when this comic book series was released. So yeah, it was great. It was fucking greatly adapted to this. And the fact that Doomsday just kept beating the shit out of everybody, it was kind of fucked up. I was just like, oh shit, this beast is unstoppable. And it just made the movie a little bit more grounded, having these characters face an opponent that is gonna fuck shit up, but you don't know how fucked up it's gonna be. The breakthrough character for me was Cyborg Superman. I was not expecting him to be this fucking evil badass. I was really hoping Steel would be showcased, and I was not wrong. Showcase of Steel was really wonderful. He is the kind of hero that we were missing. Superboy is the kind of hero of the social media. Eradicator is the one and done, get shit done kind of a Superman. And then, Superman Cyborg, you kind of learn his backstory, that he's being manipulated by Darkseid, and you're like, oh my god, this shit got real, this shit gets greedy. And the fact that, this person's really tortured and has a really fucking vendetta against Superman because he was an astronaut with his lady, with his, I don't know if they were like married or not, but they were like a couple, both astronaut in space. And they were like, don't worry, honey, Superman will save us. And Superman didn't. And he has a really axe to grind against Superman. And the fucking ending, it's really heartfelt because everything that happens about the death of Superman, you don't really notice that in the background, the death of the astronaut who comes back as Cyborg Superman, it's kind of it's the antithesis. It's the fucking anti-Superman. He's the other Superman that we didn't give a fuck about. And that, to me, that was like the most heartbreaking and most valuable thing about this, is that it makes you think like, oh yeah, Superman's gone, but then like, what about this fucking dude who just happened to be at the wrong place at the wrong time, and his wife also died, or his love interest. It was fucking great. All of a sudden I'm like, yeah, fuck yeah, bring a Cyborg Superman back. So yeah, I'm going to give this an A, actually. I was really happy, and I am going to buy the combo pack, just like The Dark Knight Returns by Jay Oliva. I was pretty fucking surprised, and I'm pretty fucking happy. So I'm going to give this an A. It's an animated movie. Adapting, considering the adaptation, how it fits, how it flows, the acting, what it made me feel. I'm sure some people will be like, well, it's all about, how the visuals are and stuff. Nah, there's a lot more things to consider when considering what an animated movie like this, you need the context. Did it achieve what it was set out to do? Fuck yeah. So that's why I gave it an A. All right. Great fucking news. I had another topic to talk about this, but because we can only fit so many in an episode, the other topics will have to go into another episode. Anyways, this one kind of took us by surprise. We all heard about the rumors about the director of It, Chapter 1 and Chapter 2, being in the lead to direct The Flash. Well, Andy Muschietti who is Argentinian, again, Latino power. He's going to direct The Flash. He confirmed it, and it's fucking awesome. I didn't realize that Andy directed Mama, a film that Guillermo del Toro helped produce and get released. I mean, this unknown director, Andy, from Argentina, was, chosen by del Toro to direct a horror movie with Jessica Chastain as well. She was the star, and she was the main star of the film who kind of helped this project get going. So yeah, how fucking cool is this? So we have another horror director tackling a superhero. Let us not forget that Zack Snyder directed Dawn of the Dead remake. Fucking awesome. Then we have James Wan, who directed The Conjuring, directed Aquaman. And then we have Shazam director, who directed Annabelle. One of the Annabelles also did, Shazam. So there is this legacy of like choosing horror directors to direct, a superhero movie. Hello, Richard Donner, who directed The Omen. And whoever says DC doesn't have any plans, I'm like, fuck you. Look at all these cool people they're choosing to direct superheroes. Oh, and let's not forget Patty Jenkins, who wrote and directed Monster. Not necessarily the classic horror movie, but it is fucking scary. It's about, Eileen Bornos. So you can kind of consider it like fucking horror. It's a serial killer. So yeah, it's fucking wonderful, right? So yeah, it's just something amazing and great. I mean, it's been a great week for DC. And we haven't even gotten to the meat and potatoes. So if you have shit to do, go ahead and grab a snack, because we're gonna get deep into all this fucking bullshit of Disney and Sony. It's gonna be a big fucking topic, and we're gonna get into all the bullshit of Disney Plus. So yeah. My girlfriend recommended that I split this episode into two. I don't know. I'm already hyped up, but I'm just warning you. Definitely catch a break here. Grab yourself a drink and some, tasty treats, because shit's going to get really fucking awesome. All right. We are back from the intermission. A little fun note. I believe I was talking too loudly into the microphone that we had interference. It sounded like a dial-up. It was just like really, really bad, and I had to record pretty much the rest of the episode from here on onward. So I guess I got a little bit too carried away. But anyways, let's go on with the show. Why would we care about the Sony and Disney Spider-Man divorce? This is a DC podcast, and I don't know if you guys remember, but I had this amazing compilation of how things were in the comic book movies, before the DC rivalry versus the MCU. And before the Disney Marvel stuff, it was beautiful. We had Scott Pilgrim, we had Persepolis, we had X-Men, we had the Dark Knight trilogy, we had Hellboy as independent, we had V for Vendetta, we had Blade, we had American Splendor, Ghost World. We have a lot of cool stuff. And I think with the, in any kind of industry, when power becomes so monopolized, it hinders everybody. So one of the wonderful things is that for somebody like me who grew up with the Sam Raimi trilogy, we got to see an honest to goodness portrayal of Spider-Man. It didn't need to be tied to any, cinematic episodic universe. It stood on its own. It was wonderful, and that's how it was. Sin City didn't need to be part of a larger cinematic world to kick ass. Neither did the Dark Knight trilogy or Logan, to name a few. So that's where we're coming from. I think it's good to have more freedom. And if you saw like the last Spider-Man movie that Sony made, it was an Academy Award winning animated movie. So they do have potential. It's interesting because when Marvel sold the rights to Sony for Spider-Man, they only wanted 5% of the revenue. Now they basically came back kind of like Thanos, and they were like, I want 50-50. It's like, well, that's not cool. You're acting like you're a villain. So either you see Thanos as somebody who wants 50-50 as the bad guy, or Disney is the bad guy. Like, you can't have your cake and eat it. That's not cool. There is a really interesting article from butwhythoughpodcast.com. Walt Disney Studios has a long and dangerous history of stifling creativity, or creators. So go ahead and check it out. I will post a link below. And that's one of the few things that bothers people about Disney. For instance, there was a bot campaign, B-O-T, bot, like robot, where these clone accounts on Twitter were like, save Spider-Man. It was the same kind of Russian robot hacker things that were used for political elections. You often see this from troll factories, so this is kind of new. And I can understand why people want, like, oh, well, Disney has a good track record with the money. Yeah, but not so much with creativity. What are their movies now? They're remakes of cartoons, sequels of Pixar movies, and comic book adaptations. They haven't created, original stuff for a while. Even the Lion King movie was part of a remake of a cartoon movie that was ripped off from an anime from Japan called Kimba the White Lion. Check it out on YouTube. They even they even fuck over the X-Men movie. Like, the ink on the contract to purchase Fox Studios wasn't even dry, and they stifled the Dark Phoenix ending, where she goes into like superpower mode, kind of like owning Dark Phoenix, Jean Grey. And they basically were like, no, you can't do that, because the only female that we want to have powerful in our movies is Captain Marvel. And that's what they did. And a lot of people are not happy with it. Some people have taken to Twitter to voice their opinions. As usual, Jeremy Conrad decided to throw a tantrum and even confuse the the Xbox Scorpio that has been out for two whole years for the Xbox Scarlet, because he's boycotting everything Sony, apparently, even PlayStation, which is kind of ridiculous. I know that The Simpsons made fun of Disney for being an evil corporation, and they've incorporated that into their episode opener. They're not. I don't know how well they're going to play into. I know that some of their fans, kind of, not the Simpson fan, but the Disney fans, were so fucking angry. They got a little bit of racist. I have some screen caps over here that were distributed, and that's kind of messed up. Which is surprising that a lot of the Disney shills haven't really covered that kind of negativity. But they usually kind of side with the popular crowd, and there was even some kind of damage control when they were like, oh, we're still in negotiations, and at the end of their little weekend of D23 special presentation, they were like, yeah, we're not going to have Spider-Man anymore. So why is this important to us at this podcast? It's about creativity, I don't really care how creative licenses you take with Batman. I'm a Batman fan. I have played some Lego games, but it's not the kind of Batman I prefer. But I'm not here, boycotting Lego or breaking pieces of plastic or stuff like that. So that's why we're kind of into this, not simply because you're like, yeah, fuck you, Disney. No, or fuck you, Marvel. It was more like, we need more outlets for artists to tell stories. Now, to quote a very wise Yoda, begun, the Clone War has. Basically, we just have entered the stream wars. And I would offer you this New York Times article talking about the good old days, how TV used to be back in the day when there was only about three channels. Because right now there's going to be like only like 3 or 4 streaming services that most Americans will be able to afford, and people all over the world. And it's a good article. I won't link it in the description, but you can find it. And that's what we're getting on right now. We're entering into the streaming wars. I am not quite sure why some people feel the need to have brand loyalty. As much as I like, like DC comic stuff, you don't see me here, plugging in AT&T, the parent company. I know Jon Stewart kind of makes fun of that all the fucking time. And that's how it should be. We shouldn't be like fucking sheep and stuff like that, But anyways, streaming wars. Yes. It would be kind of interesting to not talk about the ramification. For instance, during their Disney 23 presentation, the Disney Plus logo was kind of showcased all over the world. And it kind of reminded me of the Apple logo, like Apple TV, Disney Plus, Apple, Disney Plus, Apple Plus, Disney Plus, Apple Plus, Disney Plus, Apple Plus, Disney Plus. I mean, what the fuck? You're not very creative, Disney. Seriously, come on. That was a blatant fucking ripoff. So yeah, Domesticated Plus, it's what I have nicknamed it. And this graphic grab comes from the Bansky set piece art exhibit that Bansky did. Wonderful. Check that out if you can. But that was basically the whole concept behind it. It wasn't so much as to have creativity. It's more like, we're not very creative, so we're gonna rip off the Apple TV logo. Oh look, guess what? We're not even gonna be on Amazon's devices, as it was reported by Fortune magazine. And then it gets even worse. Moon Knight on Disney Plus won't be as dark as Daredevil or Punisher. And that should say at Netflix. It's funny how this headline forgot to mention at Netflix. It's almost like comicbook.com doesn't want to plug in Netflix. They'll be like, oh, no, just do the headline. Don't mention Netflix. And it gets even worse. Disney confirms Disney Plus won't host R-rated content. So, goodbye, Deadpool. It was nice knowing ya. And this kind of meme sums it up about Moon Knight. Because if you know anything about the character of Moon Knight, he's kind of like a violent Batman. And, with R-rated material. So, it's Neutered Plus. You should just call your fucking service Neutered Plus. But, that didn't stop idiots on the internet to have this. With a casket of Netflix saying, yeah, we won. It's kind of, this meme, it's more like Thanos with all the Infinity Gauntlets. So, again, it's like they fucking act like they're villains instead of their heroes, right? And what kind of track record does this streaming service have? Well, for instance, people say like, well, it has National Geographic. It's really cool. Like, actually, no. Fucking Rupert Murdoch fucking took over National Geographic and turned it into fucking disgrace. Shortly after acquiring it, it fired the award-winning journalists, as it was reported in Boing Boing website. And you can Google it. for your own fucking knowledge. The Guardian also said that, like, how Fox ate National Geographic because they were like, I don't know if you noticed, but if you were to walk into a newsstand, right before the takeover, they had great, amazing journalists. Now it's like, did ghost exists? Was Jesus a vegetarian? Shit like that. That it's just like, that should be a blog. Why are you wasting people's time? And some people are like, well, they might just fired like 13 journalists. Who gives a fuck? I'm like, no. They fired 180 employees across the organization. These are people who are, fact checkers. They check legitimacy of claims, photographers, permit people, smugglers that can get National Geographic into the most dangerous zones to conserve animals, getting tips about poachers and stopping them. And some people don't fucking know this. They treat their fucking property like shit. And it doesn't stop there. We mentioned about how they basically fucked over the Dark Phoenix movie. Well, the Wrap reports that there were a third round of layoffs at Fox Studios. Remember when the first round of layoffs came? Well, when a big corporation swallows another one, there's always like room for adjusting employees. Like, well, fuck you. What about the second one? Well, there's always like going to be. What about the third one? It's like it's a fucking pattern. They never had a fucking plan to redistribute these employees. They just fucking let them go. Again, this is how Disney handles shit. A horrible fucking track record. Now, yeah, so that's how they've fucking been doing it. Do you think they're gonna have any fucking luck with all your TV shows? They showed the TV show The Mandalorian, and people were like, oh my god, that looks great. I'm like, well, that Mandalorians usually want to have individual armor. Why the fuck a Mandalorian would use either Boba Fett or Jango Fett's armor? That seems kind of insulting. That's like saying, well, all the superheroes are going to be like, they're going to wear Batman's costumes. Like, no. That's lack of creativity and lack of knowledge of the Mandalorian bounty hunter clans, so fuck that shit. So why do we care? Again, it's mostly for creative people. I know that even with the expansion of Domesticated Plus with Hulu and ESPN attached to it, this whole Disney Plus doesn't fucking hold up to HBO Max, and that's just like the biggest competitor, even from this little graph that I just made really fucking quickly, you can tell they don't compare. Not to mention that you are also neglecting Netflix. Netflix just released a wonderful Dark Crystal series that can't wait to see. I'm currently enjoying Mindhunter Season 2. Fuck. It's amazing. Also, the new Star Trek seems kind of interesting, and with the merger of CBS and Viacom, I think it's worth like 30 billions or something. They should have enough money to give us more Star Trek the way people want it, right? Alrighty, so I postponed this podcast about a week, simply because the trailer for the number 3 trailer for the Joker was going to be released. And boy, I wasn't expecting some of the news that came out of it. For instance, like one of the actors, Mark Maron, he's a pretty famous comedian and podcaster. He's kind of friends with Seinfeld, Chris Rock, Louis C.K., all the big comedians. Mark Maron, he has a nice podcast. I believe everybody from either Obama and even Picard has been there. So there's a nice range of topics there. He gives Joe Rogan a run for his money. Anyways, he was on Conan O'Brien, and Conan asked him, so like, hey, so you're in the the new Joker movie. Do you like comic book movies?" And Mark Maron was like, "Actually, no. I've never seen a Marvel movie." And there was a slight pause and awkwardness, silence from the audience, and he kind of was like, "Yeah, I don't give a fuck about him. I mean, if you want to, that's good, but I don't like it when people tell me that I need to fucking see something, like it's and he kind of touched upon like the mentality behind the comic book guy from The Simpsons, that runs a comic book store and kind of belittles people who don't know shit about comics and like, you need to see this. If you don't know this, shut the fuck up. And he was correct, but he was bullied online. So when it came time for the trailer to drop, he was like, "Oh, cool, an adult movie for grown-ups," and he wasn't wrong. I mean, this trailer is pretty fucking brilliant. And on what I had in mind to talk about the Joker was just a simple magazine cover from Italy, because it was going to premiere in the Venice Festival. I was just like, I'm just going to talk about that. But however, yesterday, no, early Friday, Saturday, it's because of the time change, or the time difference between the US and Italy. And it seemed really obvious that this film got a standing ovation, and it was, a wild evening. Everybody started to filter out their non-spoiler reviews for the Joker. I think IGN gave it a perfect 10, which is kind of unheard of. They're usually they like funny comic book movies. So yeah, it's pretty fucking awesome. And I think it's the context. The Joker was premiering in Venice, and I think the last movie that premiered there was Roma by Cuarón, that Netflix released and won an Oscar for Best Foreign Film. So it is treated like a legit serious movie. In the meantime, they've also released these other two magazines, one in France, Premiere, and another one, Empire, is coming out also soon in the UK. They also released these three posters, one with a close-up of the face, one with a sad forced smile, and then one with basically dancing in the stairs upwards. So yeah, I'm going to talk about a couple of really cool shots from the trailer. The big one that Mark Maron over here from Twitter kind of posted, it's a picture of the character making faces, trying to entertain a kid. The one it shows, it's the after shot that comes after that. What kind of a society in the 80s in New York no longer tolerates that kind of naivete where, like, there's a clown and a kid, and, the clown is just trying to make the kid laugh. It's like, you can't do that anymore. You're afraid of a stranger. The awesome laugh that was based on schizophrenic patients who laugh randomly, kind of like people who have Tourette's syndrome. I thought it was just going to be the inspiration for the tone of the laughter. No, it's apparently going to be used throughout the film at random spots, kind of how the people suffering from this psychosis affects them, where they just basically laugh at random. And it was really kind of disconcerting, but also like, wow, great character study. This dialogue over here about you keep asking the same questions kind of refers to not only his psychology, but also about society. Recently we've had a lot of shooters, and we always keep asking the same questions, but nobody really cares to do anything about it. And again, the media didn't really have a problem with Marvel's Daredevil or on Netflix, or Punisher on Netflix, of an angry white man just using violence, but all of a sudden they do have it here. And that kind of has been muted by the huge amount of applause in the art house cinemas and all the reviews. The other cool part that I liked was the shot where he's trying to reach for his mom's hand in the hospital and he can't quite make it. That is cinematic language that everybody should be paying attention to, be like, hey, wait a minute. He can't quite connect. The other one is him looking up at Robert De Niro's character, pointing and laughing at said young comedian. And this might be the trigger that kind of sets him loose. This shot might be in a cemetery, and it might be the liberation that he needed. The newspaper is painting a portrait of mysterious clowns. He mimics the face, and just like the V for Vendetta masks were used in protests, the Joker masks are being used for protests, with him joining the crowd as well. One of the things that I liked about the IGN article or video, it had no spoilers, and it did include this shot. And I'm glad that they were talking about society, because a lot of people are kind of conditioned to internalize, a lot of these behaviors and patterns. It was like every shooter from nowadays is like, well, what was his problem? What was his upbringing? Why did he get access to his gun? It's never really about what the fuck is going on in society. In society, people have become really selfish, and they just focus on themselves, and then they'll go like, hey, maybe it's not my problem. Maybe society led me to this fucking point. Whether it's like political agendas, economy agendas, gender, or race, you can kind of be like, hey, what the fuck is society doing about this? And then, of course, over here, he asks the TV people to introduce him as the Joker, with the last shot being the one that everybody is distributing on Twitter, him smoking a cigarette, looking very cold-heartedly. So yeah, this comes out very soon, close to my birthday. I don't know how many times I'll see it, but I'll have a fucking blast. And last but not least, I want to give a shout out to someone who is in a Facebook group with us. He runs a website called superherofilmgeek.wordpress.com, and he wrote a very detailed analysis of why the MCU Spider-Man is a bad Spider-Man adaptation. I mean, you kind of have no Uncle Ben. That's like having no Bruce Wayne parents. Anyways, his name is Imran Hussein. He posted it not that long ago, and I told him I'd give him a shout out. I will include the link below. And again, just it's about, you need to appreciate how the characters are used. For instance, we wouldn't have a problem with MCU's Spider-Man if it was used to its full potential. It wasn't. The Joker isn't really based on comic book storylines, but it's used to its really, really dark full potential. So anyways, I hope you've had a wonderful, lengthy podcast listening session with us. And I will not be back until probably a month from now, when we have all the CW show premieres, when we've seen plenty of Titans 2 season returning, and also to review the Joker. What am I going to do in the meantime? You will definitely have 2 commentaries by me. One for Shzam that I owe you, and one for Aquaman that I also owe you. So yeah, Keep doing what you're doing. Be proud of DC. Yeah. And I'll see you in the next episode.